are you willing to accept the help from anyone, any country? Because if Pakistan is in such dire need of financial and humanitarian assistance to deal with these floods, why isn't it willing to accept all the help it can get, including from countries like India?
We haven't rejected help from anyone. We haven't been offered any help from India. And at the moment, we are honestly, as in we're not focused on whether we can make peace with one country or the geopolitical obsessions of everyone else. We're literally at the moment focused on saving lives.
Would you accept the help of India?
Every single, I mean, I wouldn't turn it away, but it's not something that I've actively sought out.
Let me turn to geopolitics. The relationship between Pakistan and the United States recently has been rocky, to say the least. The Biden administration accused Pakistan of not doing more to help the U.S. in Afghanistan. It views the growing ties with Beijing with suspicion, maybe even angst. The former Prime Minister Imran Khan accused the U.S. of orchestrating and engineering a coup against him. How do you qualify the U.S.-Pakistan relationship today?
Okay, that was all over the place. Let's start with the Afghanistan question. I think that there's plenty of blame to go around in Afghanistan. The fact of the matter is we all now have to deal with the new reality over there. And it'll be important for everyone to work together for what's in the interest of the Afghan people. I don't think it's in anyone's interest, not the Afghan people or the people in the region, to have an unsafe Afghanistan, unstable Afghanistan, and particularly given the grave economic and humanitarian situation that we're witnessing there, it is important for us to step up and try and avert a total humanitarian or economic collapse. As far as America's interference or alleged interference and role in Mr. Khan's ouster, I mean, that's just a pretty lame excuse. As everyone who's sort of observing the relationship at the time, America was pretty disengaged from Pakistan during this period. And Mr. Khan's ouster was the first democratic constitutional ouster of any prime minister in the country's history. Before this, prime ministers have been hanged, they've been exiled, there's been actual coups, so we don't throw the term coup around so loosely. We've had military coups, we've had judicial coups. This time, we had a parliamentary procedure of a vote of no confidence that resulted in Mr. Khan losing his majority.
Many expect him to come back. Do you?
If he comes back through a free and fair election, we'd welcome it. We opposed him coming through a compromised, rigged election. We believe in democracy, and he has absolute right to take part in the democratic process.
Is the U.S. still holding off on engaging fully with Pakistan, or is Pakistan hedging its relationship with the U.S. now that China has become such a major economic and military superpower?
So I don't think our relationship with either country are mutually exclusive. We have long-standing ties with our neighbor China. And there's a deeply rooted relationship which is not going anywhere regardless of overall situation with any country. And we have standalone ties with the United States, and I believe that we're both engaging with each other in a positive manner. And while in the past perhaps our relationship or the cooperation between our two countries were heavily colored by the events in Afghanistan, now is the opportunity for us to build a more broad-based partnership.
And you are building a bigger partnership with the United States. In fact, the Biden administration announced that it would upgrade in a $450 million deal Pakistan's F-16 squadrons. What led to this reversal? What was the quid pro quo?
It was all right. Pakistan had purchased this equipment. I believe it was incredibly unfair that despite having bought this material from the United States and it requiring maintenance and upkeep from time to time, that was being deprived from us. So I definitely welcome this decision of the United States, and I think that America is the sort of country that should live up to such international obligations.
To what extent and how long can Pakistan continue to play this balancing act between the United States on the one hand, strategically, and China on the other?
I don't see the need for us to balance. We have a standalone relationship with our neighbor China and the United States. I do believe that an increase in tension between these two countries will not serve anybody's purpose. This is the decade that we should be joining together to face existential threats such as climate change. And in the past, Pakistan has played the role of a bridge between China and the United States, particularly at the time they were establishing their diplomatic relations. And that's the role we see for ourselves in the current situation going forward.
And looking at the closer relationship in recent years between Delhi and Washington by the sheer force of physics, does that mean necessarily that Islamabad and Washington become more distant allies?
I think that the relationship between the United States and India has its own dynamics, and Pakistan has its own engagement and partnership with the United States. And I think the world is big enough for the both of us to have diplomatic relations with the USA.
But on a practical level, is that really the case? So the former Prime Minister Imran Khan last year expressed his regret for the collaboration that Pakistan engaged with the United States in its so-called war on terror. Do you share his perspective?
No. Mr. Khan has always been an appeaser of terror. He's always made excuses for fundamentalists, for extremists, for terrorists. That has been his history. We fundamentally believe that there is no space for violent extremism. And this is not a fight for the United States. This is a fight for for Muslims who believe in the Prophet's peaceful message of Islam. We weren't fighting extremism because of the United States. We didn't send our troops or our planes or anyone into Afghanistan. It was the extremists and the terrorists who came into my country and killed my citizens, who assassinated my mother, who assassinated 80,000 Pakistanis. That's why we will continue to challenge them, no matter what the United States' position is.
But how conflicted, though, is Pakistan in its counterterrorism collaboration with the United States? Because what he was suggesting were the drone attacks on the border that left lots of civilians dead. That's what he was talking about. And he said he would absolutely not allow the CIA to use bases on its soil for counterterrorism missions after the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan. Has that policy changed?
That is absolutely our policy. There was never a change in that policy. Nor did the United States ever request the Prime Minister for the use of bases. An interviewer asked him, I believe it was on, I forget the name of the channel, but an interviewer asked him, would you allow the use of bases for the US and for the CIA, to which he said absolutely not. It was never a request or a conversation from the United States.
But we know that is often a fait accompli, though, isn't it? Is Pakistan today allowing the United States to use its skies or its ground to operate?
Finish your first question?
But yes or no? Is it allowing?
No, we're not engaged in... Anyway, you're really jumping all over the place. As far as...
I'm being very specific and very direct, Foreign Minister. I'm asking you if Pakistan today allows the United States to use its ground or its air base.
We don't allow the United States to use our ground or anything else. As far as drone strikes are concerned, we oppose them before, we oppose them now, and we oppose them in the future. That is my answer to your question.